you're tying up with hotels, etc. And that is where the program took off to such an extent that in about 16 months post-launch, it was the second most sold travel credit card, right? So it was number 2 in its space. Number 1 was a Jet Airways Citibank card. And that's what got me thinking, saying, what is it that's so powerful about this product? It was not the earn rate or the burn rate, it was just the freedom that we were giving to users, that hey, you can earn on any airline and you can use those points or miles anywhere else. And that's where we tried to build in Zaggle. How do we take that concept further from just giving you choices across airlines and hotels to saying across all brands? Why just airlines? Why not on apparel? Why not on your movie tickets? Why not on your spa usage? Why not on literally everything, your groceries?
Why wasn't it possible in the old days? Was it a digital problem, or was it because retailers did not understand interoperability, or that world never existed in India?
It was a combination. Primarily, it was a tech problem because you needed to be able to get different databases and different systems to communicate to each other at real time globally. And obviously, that was the technology was not available, or if it was available earlier, extremely expensive, right? So, with the democratization of data and access and networks, Wi-Fi, all those costs have dropped dramatically. And with those costs going down, it's now practically feasible for people to say, hey, I want to be able to access my points real time across any brands. The platform should be able to figure out where I am, which location I am, allow me to redeem my reward points at that platform or that location, right? So that is a tech problem. The other problem that has happened is with brands, with online really taking off. A lot of the offline merchants especially are realizing that data is where the real data is the new oil, right? I think that's established. And they don't have data, or they don't have enough data, offline merchants vis-a-vis online merchants. And the main reason for that is because they don't have loyalty programs that cover 80, 90, 100% of their users. Even the best loyalty programs in the world possibly cover 35, 40%. Why? Because the reach of the loyalty program is limited to that particular brand. If you're able to collaborate with other brands and co-create a solution where these points can be redeemed across brands, and these could be non-competing brands, right? The ability to be able to leverage that data, right, and behaviors is so much larger. And then you become relevant to such a large population. And to be able to fight the online brands, the offline brands have started to open up in their thought process.
So how did this happen? You had to go aggregate a whole bunch of them and say that, okay, we'll manage it. You're an aggregator of data, custodian of data.
Yes.
Would they agree to buy into such a program?
See, not everybody buys them, but like any new concept, there are some early adopters, there are some guys who are passionate about it, who get it, and there are some others who have been skeptics. But we can very clearly see, if you look at the early adopters, without fail, they are the guys who are more ambitious. Those are the guys who care for their customers more. They're thinking more customer-centric, that I want to make sure that my customer is happy, versus trying to worry more about their own, P&L. P&Ls will take care of themselves if you take care of your customers, right? And we're seeing a lot of brands, especially the ones which are new age in their thinking. They could be 100-year-old brands, but new age in their thinking are really lapping this up.
Okay, now let's bring in a blockchain, right?
Yeah.
So you've implemented blockchain so that all parties are verified when they're transferring points from each other.
Yes.
So that's how I understand, loyalty and blockchain.
Right.
How technical is it?
It is technical. See, end of the day, you need to be able to make sure that the solution works in a seamless manner. So we are really investing heavily in the solution itself. We are also investing in educating various stakeholders, because it's one thing to have a great platform. The other is to convince various stakeholders like brands that, hey, your data is safe. Hey, your customers' data is safe. With GDPR kicking in, customer data is sacrosanct, right? The protection of that data is sacrosanct, and we truly believe that the customer data is the customers. It is not of a brand or of a third party. And our platforms, we make sure that we are taking full consent of customers before that data is used. We don't obviously sell the data, but even to use that data, we make sure that we are taking consent. And that is where I think a lot of these pieces are very, very important as you scale up on a global basis.
So you've got a team of data scientists,
Yes.
technologists working on this.
Yes.
It's also an AI platform that you said it is.
Yes, there is a lot of AI that gets used. I think a lot of these pieces, like AI, have over time started to become, I wouldn't say hygiene yet, but they have become so important and they have become so critical that earlier it was like, 30 years ago you'd say, do you have a database, right? Or are you working on MS Access? Today it's become like that. I mean, do you use AI? Yeah, if you're a tech company, you have to use AI, and we use it in the
Interestingly, 2 years ago you were a little more than a $10 million company, and
Right.
today you're a $100 million company.
Yes.
I'm very fascinated because most of our startups, you're only a 6-year-old company.
Yes.
And
7-year-old
company. And to achieve such revenues, how did you plan it? You took over very early as CEO in this company.
Right.
Were there bottlenecks in the early days? Was it your product's discovery that was a problem, or was it because the technology itself was not ready? What were the problems that you overcame to hit 100 million now?
So I think, to be very honest, we faced a myriad of problems. Right? It was a tough journey. It continues to be a tough journey. So I will make light of that. The core, I think, is the vision of the founder, Mr. Faniraj. The vision, we've been very consistent and honest with it, which is to connect consumer and corporate spends to our partner merchants through our proprietary tech platforms, right? And as we were building that, we saw that there was a lot of need to invest heavily in tech, and being able to invest that time, effort, and not just money, but time and effort to be able to build that high quality tech has a certain amount of risk that you should be willing to take. It's a punt in the future. You have to believe that this is going to click. So there was a time around 2015 where we consciously said, even if we grow only 30%, 25% a year, and not 3x and 7x as we grew the next 2 years, it's okay, but we're going to redefine our platforms. We're going to become mobile first. We're going to become authentically mobile. We're going to start introducing elements like AI, things like blockchain into all our solutions, because that's where the disruption in the future is. And I think when we started to do that, that's when we really saw the astronomical growth.
So you are a cards business.
We were a cards
You still are a cards business. But you're saying you went mobile.
Yes.
You want to talk to our audience about that?
Yes, so we were essentially at the start, Vishal, we were a prepaid gift card company when we started, right?
And there were a lot of players in that market.
There were a lot of players. The space was crowded. From there, transition to saying we are a payments and loyalty and groups company, group deals company. It was both a mindset change for employees and stakeholders within the board, etc., and also from an investment perspective. So when we started to do pure cards, we saw that there was a logical market size limitation. How the market perceived us, how corporates approached us, how merchants approached us was fundamentally different to saying when you said, hey, I have got all these new tools, new ways of thinking and solving problems, which you possibly may not as a corporate or a merchant partner. And this can be brought to your user, whether it's an employee or a user of a merchant. The whole reaction of the partner changed one.
So is it an app now?
Oh yes.
It's a Zaggle app that I download,
Yes.
and I can cross-sell my loyalty, cross-buy.
So you can book your deals. There are a whole host of restaurant partners, 6,500 restaurants that you have. You can actually access the various gift cards that you have. We are introducing loyalty elements there. We are bringing in a whole host of other pieces where we are saying, can we do it contextually relevant? So let's say Vishal is in Forum Mall, right? It doesn't make sense for us to give him a deal of a place in Malaysia because he is in Kormangla, right?
Yes.
So we've started to build a lot of capability and a lot of precision. When we make a deal for you, it is contextually relevant.
Contextual and location specific.
Location
So
specific.
the two suburbs you mentioned are about 10 miles away from each other.
And it's 3 hours in Bangalore traffic.
I agree with you. So that's what you're solving.
Yes.
For me, what fascinates me is the fact that corporate bought into this. Corporate loyalty became very popular. What do you mean by corporate loyalty?
So there are two aspects, right? There are two levels that they are looking at. One is loyalty from their end users, right? So take a Lenovo, take a Microsoft. They want loyalty from their end users, but they also want loyalty from their employees. It's a absolute talent war, Vishal, and Bangalore is at the epicenter of that war.
Okay, let me interject and ask you. In the old days, they gave me Sodexo.
Yes.
So there were meal vouchers or I can
Yes.
redeem it somewhere.
Yes.
But they were heavy and thick to carry all the time, and you have to count them by hand. I mean, I think they are also evolving. But so how did corporate maintain loyalty?
So it was tough for corporates. They didn't have enough solutions in the market. For them, the problem was that everything was, as you mentioned, paper-based. It was difficult for corporates to store. There was risks. People had, paper vouchers which were worth crores in their desks, right? And imagine the kind of fear that a purchase guy would have with those vouchers in his drawer because they had to disperse these the next day or over the week, right? So you completely digitize those things. For those companies which still want a touch and feel, we give an app and the plastic. A lot of the companies have started to say, I don't even need the touch and feel. Just give me the app, the points on the app, which can be totally redeemed in a seamless fashion. And that is something which has disrupted this space in a big way. And earlier, these were real pains for companies. I think the RBI has also taken a very strong stand against paper because it causes a lot of issues in terms of compliance. When you digitize, it's
so you can't store it, right?
You can't store it. You don't know who got it. You don't know who redeemed it. Did they comply with the tax laws? Did they comply with the RBI laws? So RBI is kind of for semi-closed loop products kind of restricted or banned the use of paper vouchers. I think that's been a good move, if you ask me, because it's forced the industry to move away from paper to at least plastic. And a lot of people like us who saw this before, we said we just want to do mobile. Right?
Arun, you have to tell me, you're a technology company.
Yes.
You're an operations company where you have to go tie up with retailers.
Yes.
Then you have a business B2B side where you have to go convince corporate to buy into that program.
Yes.
I mean, how do you tie all this? As a CEO, how do you spend your time?
I still am figuring that out.
Tell me, seriously, how tough is it for you?
It is tough. I think the good part, it's become easy because of two things. One, we've got a very strong team. Over time, we've built, for example, my VP products is with us now for right from inception. Head of ops is there for more than 5 years. A bunch of sales leaders have been there for 5-6 years. Right? So we've got a strong team which understands the vision and is executing the vision. I also am very lucky to have a very strong support and kind of mentorship from the founder who's really helped me understand. He's a serial entrepreneur and he's built multiple businesses and companies, and he's helped me make mistakes, fail, and allowed me that space to learn from that.
Do you want to talk about a couple of mistakes that you learned from quickly?
Many mistakes, but yes, a couple of ones. So one of the mistakes that we very early down the line we did was we were trying to partner with a particular bank to launch a card. It was a restricted access network gift card,
Only for that one particular bank.
Yeah, so now as a bank partner to be able to issue it along with Visa to be used for multiple corporates. And it was one of the biggest banks in India. It is one of the biggest banks. And it took us a very long while, and after a point in time, he was the one who nudged me to say, hey, let's explore opportunities with a smaller bank. And at that time, I was not too much convinced because I had come from Citi.
Because you got scale now,
yes.
And you say, why should I miss an opportunity with a large bank?
Yes, and this was pre-scale, Vishal. This was 2012, so when we just started, right? But I just come from Citi, so I wanted to work with a large bank. That was where my comfort was. But we partnered with RBL Bank, and that was one of the best decisions we took because the bank also grew phenomenally in the last 5 to 6 years. RBL has grown tremendously, and we grew along with them, and we grew faster than them. And it was a very symbiotic relationship which continues to grow and do very well for us, right?
So it's not a debit card, but it's a closed loop card for retail purchases.
Yes, semi-closed.
And within a particular network.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that was very successful for you?
That was extremely successful. That was the first time anybody had attempted it in India.
What would have happened if you tied up with a large bank? Why would it have been a mistake?
It wouldn't have been a mistake. We were trying to partner with them. They had their internal challenges. So while we printed the plastics, we got a go-ahead from them in principle to do the program, but we never got a final go-ahead in terms of launching the card. And we would have lost time. We had already lost about 8 months trying to get the program executed. Moving with RBL allowed us to go live in 30 days, right? And the reality is, in India especially, execution is the differentiator. can you get your product, especially if it's a complex product with multiple partnerships, etc., can you make it see the light of the day? Can it go into a user's hands and can she then experience it and feel good about it? If that's not happening, the rest is mumbo jumbo.
So you have to answer the consumer's problem.
You have to answer the consumer's problem. You have to have the consumer on your side. Everybody else will align. All stakeholders, whether it's the bank, whether it's networks, whether it's your investors, whether it's your employees, they all align when they see the magic happening in the consumer end. Right?
How do you make your money? What is your business model in the digital side?
So different products, different business lines, but I'll kind of explain to you on a broader side. Right? So the core of the value that we bring to merchants is we are driving analytics, footfalls, and spends to them. Right? And they pass on a particular amount of commission to us, right? Because we're bringing this value to them. We also, from time to time, do very interesting programs with corporates, and we charge them a fee. So it's a multi-sided network. These are the two principal entities that we get revenues from. We also get a certain amount of revenue from Visa. A lot of our cards are on the Visa network, and Visa gives something called as interchange. But that's a relatively small amount. We've now started to partner with banks like IndusInd, etc., who are very, very supportive, who are helping us with various programs. Visa just supported us with some of our marketing programs. So we get those support pieces as well. But at the core, it's both the merchant primarily and some amount of commissions from the corporate as well.
So the corporate, how many corporates do you have on board today?
So we have over 2,500 corporates.
2,500 corporate, and how many retailers in the network?
So a little over 6,500.
6,500, and you're also building a blockchain as a service for global transactions. That's your next business.
Absolutely.
So when will you go live with that?
So we hope to have this piece going live this year, this calendar year. We're looking at a launch about September, October as a alpha product.
But you've got a bunch of retailers and corporate together, or a bunch of retailers and retailers together?
A bunch of retailers to start off with, and a bunch of consumers. And eventually, because you know what happens, Vishal, if you try to get corporates to buy, the product has to be at a different level of readiness at times, right? Ability to be able to kind of get consumers, early adopters, to kind of sign up and say, hey, you know what? Like, if you remember the early Gmail days, Google did a very smart play. They got all of us to test Gmail by giving us 100 logins. I remember I was in Bangalore and I was a superhero because I had these 100 logins of Google, which I could, invites of Google Gmail, which I could forward to my friends. And for a while I was a superstar. So we don't intend to take it to that level necessarily, but we do have a bunch of users who are super passionate about Zaggle, who are very happy to experiment and work with us to co-create the product. We have a bunch of partners like Taj, who are also very keen to experiment and take it to the new next
level. Talk about the global scenario. I take your app, or if I don't have an app, I can take your partner's app, who's got partners that you've aggregated in the West, maybe in the UK or the USA. And I can go redeem my points of the company in India in a global retailer, right?
That's the idea.
So if I can just put it hypothetically, future group to Walmart, for example, can be done.
Could be done. It's most likely to be like a brand which is non-competing. So it could be Taj points being redeemed at Walmart, or Taj points being redeemed at JCPenney or Macy's. It's the phase 2 I see is where even brands which are actually in the same space but in different geographies will say, okay, I'm okay for my points to be kind of
A quick note on the competition in the loyalty space. Give a big, broad, explanation of how we're competing with different players.
So competition is always good, to be honest. It helps us become better. It helps us serve the consumers better and the market better.
So who do you compete with? Gift card companies?
So we compete with a whole host of guys. We compete with a whole host of gift card companies. We compete with a whole host of loyalty companies. Some expense management solution companies. We also compete with, at times in various places, with banks for various programs. Right? But in the loyalty space, I think there's a lot of disruption that's happening. There is no clear player who's a single leader like Amazon in loyalty. Right? While everybody understands loyalty is huge, but there's no one player who says, I'm going to create loyalty solutions for different brands. And that's the space that we want to capture.
Why haven't e-commerce companies launched loyalty?
So Amazon Prime is a great example of loyalty,
Yes.
right? So they really
Prime is
loyal to
subscription.
themselves. Yes.
But I don't get points to redeem elsewhere or.
It's a different variant of loyalty in some ways if you look at it, Vishal. Essentially, it's the Amazon, quirk, or it's the Amazon take on loyalty. But essentially, the loyalty programs that we are talking of are far more relevant to offline brands because they are data starved, right? So the whole concept of being hyper-local and online to offline, where you capture the user online but drive him or her to offline stores, is way more relevant and powerful to an offline brand than an online brand.
So those offline retailers watching this show, they are businesses today will be prepared to take on e-commerce, or will it be a multi-channel world where they'll have e-commerce also from their brands, where they'll also have a physical world? It's an omni-channel world, they call it.
It's an omni-channel world.
So they will survive. But they have to use their data better.
They will survive. They will definitely thrive if they partner with Zaggle. That I can promise you. They definitely have to have an omni-channel strategy, which we work very aggressively with them to build. But I think it's not going to be only about being online and offline. Are we able to give a seamless experience to the consumer? Because the consumer is not thinking online or offline. To him, it's just that I want this, and how can I get that particular product or service in the shortest span of time by clicking the least number of buttons or traveling the least number of miles, right? And if, as a brand, you're able to give that to the user and along the way give some surprises, you won.
Why not? Let's take some audience questions before we close it. This is by Yashaswini. She says, how do retailers price loyalty? And actually, how do they price it? How does it get recorded in the balance sheet or the P&L? And how is it redeemed, or do they make money on float with that money that's not redeemed?
They do. So a lot of questions there. So how do retailers price loyalty? The question has to be answered by each brand, right? What are their margins, their gross margins? How much do they really want to invest in getting that set of customers back? How much of that money that they have, they want to reinvest in getting these customers to become their brand ambassadors? See, a good loyalty program doesn't necessarily get the consumer back only. It gets her talking, right? Across mediums, across platforms, where she's talking well about your brand. And that is true loyalty, right? And to me, it's very difficult to put a price on that. It's priceless. But as an ex-banker, as a finance guy, I can tell you it's driven by your margins, so how much can you give back? And how innovative can you be to use that money to be able to convert, right? Yes, brands use that unredeemed loyalty points to be able to save some, do some balance sheet management, etc. Our recommendation, for example, in Premier Miles, I keep going back to Premier Miles.
How big is it as a percentage of revenue? Say if a company is 30,000 crores, would it be 10%?
There are large brands in India where those brands, I wouldn't necessarily name them, but their entire business is running because of loyalty.
So because they're not redeemed?
Some of it because it's not redeemed.
How large would be the unredeemed portion?
10%? It could be much more than that.
Wow. So it's just sitting in the balance sheet. They get float money.
You do get float money if it's gift cards because you paid for it. Loyalty is being funded typically by the brand.
So where is it held? In escrow or something?
No, loyalty points are on your balance sheet.
On your balance sheet.
Yes.
And they're just untouched.
They're untouched, but the problem
it's on the liability side.
It's on the liability side. And in some cases, like in Premier Miles, we used to call it contra revenue. So we used to kind of estimate how much is the redemption and then take it as a reduction in the revenue.
But you have to hold it for 10 years, right? Before you.
If it's a loyalty program, and not a gift card, then you can hold it forever. And what we recommend is that you don't let your reward points expire. Instead, engage with your user and get her to redeem those points.
Because footfalls increase.
Footfalls increase. She's going to love you as a brand because she's going to recognize that, hey, you've taken a high road. You said, I want you to come back, even if it means that you're going to redeem your points. 9 out of 10 times, the consumer ends up redeeming for more than the points and giving you additional business.
Let's move on to the next question. Blockchain, quickly, how is it working? Give us a quick piece of how many stakeholders will be in the blockchain.
So blockchain typically depends on how you construct the blockchain, right? You have your whole host of brands, right? Merchant partners, so it could be 10, 50, 100,000 globally. You will also have consumers who are being able to redeem these loyalty points. Beyond that, anybody who's looking to partner with us, right? And if they have large user bases that they want to open up this blockchain to generate loyalty, it could be not just your traditional retailers, but different sort of brands. We would love to do that.
Okay. Meenal asks, how big is corporate loyalty, and how big is your business?
Our business is $100 million. Last year's revenue, we possibly are going to grow 2.5 to 3x. We're already about $55-60 million this year. How big is corporate loyalty? Very difficult to put a ballpark number around it, because there are two elements. One is the consumer side, the other is the employee side. If I'm talking of the consumer side, it's a multi-billion dollar industry. Think of all the brands that we all use. All of them are looking to generate loyalty. They don't know how to do it. I would say...
Would it be a size of the organized retail market, which is 50 billion or 60 billion they quote? Would it be a percentage of that?
It would be a percentage of that.
What would be 10%?
More than that. I would say it would be more in the range of about 65-70% of that. And if you're looking at it from an India context, if you're looking from a global context, it's even bigger.
Okay. Then, I think, hope it answers your question, Meena. You can be in touch with them on LinkedIn, or can they write to you? Can startups write to you?
Anytime.
Do you mentor them?
I'd be happy to. I mentor some of the startups.
Would you be happy to give out your email?
Yes, it's my first name, Avinash, dot last name, Godkhindi, Godkhindi, @Zaggle.in or @gmail.com.
So where else can they contact you? On LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is great. Facebook is good.
But do you reply to them?
Yes, I do. To each one.
So Avinash is a great friend, and you've been kind enough to be part of your story. Thank you, Avinash, and I'll see you again soon. And you guys have been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.